What is your assessment of how things are looking right now, and how worried are you about the potential for growth actually to dip a lot south from where we are?
Well, I think I would share the group or the alliance of the cautious ones, so to speak, because the variables and the uncertainty are significant. If you look at fragmentation, core inflation being quite entrenched in many countries, uncertainty about energy prices, we've seen oil prices go up again, and of course our collective ability to really assist households to really see through this difficult period. So it's still uncertain, and the recent banking crisis, or rather our ability to avert a banking crisis, to hit systemically, has been very important. We're not out of the woods, I would say.
Well, geopolitical fragmentation is one of the issues that keeps popping up as well. And I'm just curious to hear how Netherlands is thinking about it, specifically because Netherlands as a country is also wading into geopolitical fragmentation by introducing, say, export bans in some of your key technology, your chip technology, to China. Those are considered to be barriers, trade barriers, in an environment where we talk about geopolitical fragmentation.
No, it's true. I think the debate on fragmentation is a very important one. It was already picked up at the last session 6 months ago at the IMF meetings, but we look at it differently. Fragmentation, let's say, as a result of sanctions which we impose on the Russian economy due to the illegal invasion, the war on Ukraine, is for us a different matter. Fragmentation induced by protectionist measures is not desirable. However, when it comes to, for instance, export of highly sensitive sectors or highly sensitive technologies, we see that as a matter of national security. So there's a differentiation. But I'd like to listen to Ngozi, the Director General of the WTO, and she spoke of re-globalization, hence maintaining open trade, having appropriate measures, of course being WTO compliant, but looking at a way to re-engineer globalization. I think that's the right way forward. That takes us a step away from discussions on reshoring or friendshoring. We need to be certain of supply chains, we need to have securities, but we need to bolster and boost a global effort in that regard, and not forget the many countries and regions that are really dependent on the benefits that globalization could bring.
Where does Europeans' industrial policy fall into that re-globalization trend? Again, a couple of months ago, you and I were speaking on the sidelines of Davos, and back then we were talking about the European response to the Inflation Reduction Act. There have been several meetings since then. It looks like Europe is planning on putting together a green industrial policy. To what extent do you think that can actually tie in to what you were saying about re-globalization, but doing it in a way that you can still protect economic blocks, economic interests?
Yes. Well, we are the largest internal market, and I think it's very important, of course, we remain connected to the rest of the world, not only because it's our duty, but we export, we trade, and we try to build stability in that way as well. Ideally, that new policy, the green industrial policy, should be an exemplary instrument in that regard. But we have to be honest too, it is also fostering first and foremost European interest to grow the new technologies and to grow new industry. But protectionism is something we should all be very mindful of. That cannot be the purpose of our actions.
When you think about how far Europe has come in the past year, I was speaking to the president of the Bundesbank, and he was saying that as far as Germany are concerned, he feels like the worst of the energy crisis is over. Do you get that sense as well? Do you feel like Europe is out of the woods with the energy crisis?
I'm not sure. I think if we home it in on dependency on Russian oil and gas, yes, of course. The Netherlands was one of the first to be able to decouple from the import or the dependency on a percentage of Russian oil and gas. And Europe has made great strides. However, we need to go much further in the investment when it comes to reducing our dependency on fossil fuels, investing in solar, wind at sea. Some countries are investing, including ours, are exploring if we should reintroduce nuclear energy. So I'm perhaps not as optimistic, and we're not certain yet also what the energy prices will be this coming winter. We've done relatively well, all things considered.